BBC Question Time is always more entertaining when the Tories are in a crisis. And this week was no exception. Take a look at Piers Morgan, Brian Cox and Lisa Nandy laying into the government.
I think she's done. I think if you come in at this stage with 2 years to an election, with the polling as catastrophic as it is, and it's a direct result of the very first thing that you do for the country, and you play casino politics with the nation's economy, and you put it all on red and it comes up black, and you then have to start rewinding and reversing half of your strategy, and there's a run on the pound, the Bank of England has to intervene and spend billions of pounds bailing out pension funds, interest rates start soaring, mortgages start soaring. I'm not sure how she has the brass neck to stay on the job.
Certainly what's been going on at the Tory party conference has been an absolute fiasco. And we've seen it. We've all witnessed it. We've witnessed it on a daily basis. And she's the wrong person for the job. That's what I believe. I just do not think she is the right person for the job. And I also don't trust her. I don't trust her. There's something about her that I just simply do not trust. So I ain't a fan.
A handful of Tory MPs and Tory party members chose her. She didn't let on at all that this is what she was planning to do. And then she's announced a huge package of unfunded borrowing to target help to the wealthiest at a time when most people are struggling, and she's crashed the economy. I don't really give a stuff what the future of Liz Truss is, but I really do care what the future of 1.8 million people who are about to come off fixed-term mortgages, who are going to see their mortgage payments rise by £500 a month, wiping out any of the help on energy costs. I really do care what's going to happen to them.
Now, you might say, three people laying into the government on a Question Time panel, not entirely unusual. I think what was notable there, though, is nothing that any of them said, I don't think anyone reasonable can disagree with. I think my favourite bit, just because it was kind of entertaining, Brian Cox saying, just don't trust her. Just don't like her. Then it pans to the audience. I was like, yeah, I don't like her. I don't trust her, actually. I don't think she's going to be particularly pleased, or her PR people will be pleased watching that. There was a defender of the government on the panel, obviously, other than Nadeem Zahawi, and it was Wilfred Emmanuel Jones. He's a businessman, farmer, and former Tory candidate. Early on in the show, he suggested Liz Truss should be forgiven for making mistakes. This was the response from an audience member.
Just to go back to your point about making mistakes, I was speaking to my apprentice today about making mistakes. It's an opportunity to learn. I get that. Some positions and roles, you don't get that opportunity. If you're flying a plane, you can't make a mistake. If you're a surgeon, you can't make a mistake. She's the Prime Minister. She shouldn't make a mistake.
Absolutely. Quite right.
It is absolutely impossible to say that as a human being, whatever you do, you can't make mistakes. It's just impossible to even think that. It's just that in how we evolve, how we develop, is learning by our mistakes. There is no human being alive that can actually say they've never made a mistake. And to have that expectation of somebody is just a ridiculous expectation.
But if I just say, we're not at a time where we can afford these kind of mistakes. We're in a very crucial position. We simply can't afford these kind of mistakes. And they're being made time and time and time again. Okay. And it's got to stop. We need some vision, but we have no vision. This party has absolutely no vision.
You could really see the Logan Roy coming out there. I was always expecting him to sort of hit Jeremy Strong around the head. With Jeremy Strong not on the panel, he is a character from Succession. I mean, I think what he said was obviously correct. Making mistakes early on in your career is fine. Making mistakes late in your career is fine. But if you have just become Prime Minister, you have just persuaded your party to make you literally the most important person in the country, then if the first thing you do crashes the pound, ups everyone's mortgages, and increases the cost of government debt by a significant degree, then that's not just any mistake. It's not any job. It's not just any mistake. The one job you have to do is to ensure the security of the country. And what have you done? You've crashed the economy in the first announcement you've made. Yes, you might make mistakes in any job, especially sort of high pressure jobs, but I'm going to be more forgiving of you if what you were trying to do was virtuous. So if you were really, really trying to implement a policy that would help the vast majority of people, and you misjudged what the reaction of the markets would be, or you misjudged what the reaction of any kind of interest group in the country would be, fine. At least you were trying to do something good. Obviously, I prefer you not to make those mistakes. But the mistake that Liz Truss made was in misjudging the attitude that the market would have to her policy of arbitrarily giving a huge bonus to wealthy people. It wasn't she was trying to do something virtuous and made a mistake in how to achieve that thing. No, she was trying to slip in this huge giveaway for the wealthy. And I think the logic of them was, we're giving this much money to people with this gas freeze. Why are we giving so much money to ordinary people if we can't give a few billion just to the very rich? I think that was their logic. And they got caught out. And to say, oh, everyone makes mistakes. She made a mistake, but she made a mistake trying to do something which was, in and of itself, even if it was a success, quite ugly. Finally, this was Nadeem Zahawi's attempt to defend his government. He's up against Labour's Lisa Nandy.
Of course, I take collective responsibility for what we do, judge us by what we will deliver.
12 years.
Well, no, hold on a second.
She's been a present feature of every cabinet. Cameron, May, Johnson, and now.
We are a pro-growth cabinet. You are part of the anti-growth.
12 years.
Anti-growth coalition.
12 years of low growth and high taxes.
You want to put taxes up, Lisa. Tell us which taxes you would cut. At least we are putting a plan forward where we're going to freeze.
We voted against your tax rises on working people. I'll tell you the answer.
So that people invest. I don't think you talk about wanting corporation tax to be frozen at 19%. That means people will invest in this country confidently. Cutting tax for 31 million people, that's a good thing.
Okay.
What's your tax plan? You don't have one.
You asked me the answer. I'll tell you the answer. That those who have the broadest shoulders should bear the greatest burden. It is unconscionable that when oil and gas producers are making record profits, you're making working people pay. Not good enough.
And if you cared about tax receipts, tax take, rather than tax rate, you would actually have a tax-cutting plan.
Lisa Nandy is right. That jibe that Labour are part of an anti-growth coalition isn't persuasive when we lived through more than a decade of the Tories in power. And the ridiculousness of the claim that the Tories are pro-growth can be shown in one simple chart. This is from the blog of Oxford economics professor Simon Wren-Lewis. It shows real weekly wages over time. As you can see, they increased from around £400 in the year 2000 to over £470 in 2008. This is per week. They then levelled off after the financial crisis, but started plummeting once the Tories came to power. So we had a decade of wage stagnation. They then went on to rise in 2021, but they're tanking again. Gary, from your perspective, what claim do the Tories have to be the party of economic growth?
Well, I mean, if you look at the evidence, it's pretty clear the last 12 years have been very low growth, very low investment. They haven't seen an increase in living standards for ordinary people. I think what it shows for me is the power of stories and the power of messaging, right? You know, they thought they could get away with giving a massive tax cut to the rich on the basis that they could tell us it grows the economy. And, you know, when I hear that, I look at myself and I say, well, I haven't explained well enough to people that if they give a ton of money to the rich, that is going to make you poorer. You know, if you want a strong economy, you need pounds and pence in the pockets of ordinary people. You know, what we're seeing now, while the rich are getting richer and richer, is businesses are closing down, pubs are closing down because ordinary people don't have any money. But we haven't made that economic case, that economic story well enough that a strong economy involves getting money into the pockets of ordinary families. Truss is going to go and the Conservatives will probably lose. But unless we can make that story that getting money to ordinary families strengthens the economy, our economy won't get better because we need to make that case for redistribution so that people support it.
Why is it that it's only when you give money to ordinary people that you get growth, not when you give it to the rich? Is it because they will spend the money on goods and services in their communities, whereas the rich will just pump it into assets?
The rich save a much higher percentage of their income than ordinary people. So then that can lead to sort of lazy assumption that, well, if they save more, then if you give them more money, we'll have more investment. But that investment is not new wind farms. It's not new factories. That investment is very often buying your mum's house. You need to understand, you give money to the rich, they do not drive the economy. They buy the assets that your family needs. You give money to ordinary families, they will spend it, which drives everybody's wages up. You know, this is the story which we need to be understanding and telling each other, because if we don't do something about growing inequality, things are only going to get worse and worse from here.
Finally, I just want to get your response on the last thing Nadeem Zahawi said, which is that Labour are too concerned with the tax rate and not concerned enough with the tax take. And the implication there is that what the Conservatives are doing is they're cutting taxes so that they will get more taxes in the long run, either because, you know, that means people are more willing to pay tax, you know, they hide it less, or because I think that, you know, the basis of the argument is it will bring about so much growth that even with a lower tax rate, you end up with a higher tax take. Can I get you to respond to that?
If you cut taxes on the rich, then the rich will accumulate a ton of money. In the last 3 years, the rich accumulated £600 billion. What did it do for ordinary people? Pushed house prices up, pushed rents up, pushed inflation up. It meant that ordinary people can't afford to heat their homes, can't afford to feed their kids in many situations. Look, money is not food. Money is not energy. Money is not healthcare. Money is not housing. Okay, money is not real resources. Money is the asset that we use to determine the distribution of real resources. If we give a ton of money to the rich, they will get more real resources and you will get less. You need to start understanding there's only a limited amount of stuff. And if you give all of it to the rich, as well as all of our wealth and all of our assets, ordinary families will be poor, you know. And I used to work in the city, stacking up cash for these people. They're making it, you know, and if you don't protect it, you're going to lose it. You need to understand that, listen, giving them money is not in your best interest. You need the houses for your families. You know, keep your money, keep your wealth for yourself, your family, your community. Don't give it all to the rich, please. Because if you keep doing that, then you're seeing right now what happens to the economy.